Welcome to Aunty K's, your favorite radical queer indigenous auntie, bringing you tarot every day. Hello everyone, and welcome to Aunty K's chat and cards. I got to writing today, so we're going to start with reading what I wrote. It's going to be a political reading today with a pick-a-pile on what to do. But first, the rant I wrote when I decided to make a quick note on the idea of this reading. It came in while I was working. I read a comment on a YouTube video about weapons that vaporize people. It is something that Israel is using in their genocide against Palestine. The person in the comment section states that they never thought they'd live through a pandemic, the shutdown of the world, and a new genocide. I both share this feeling and also really don't relate. The person stated their age and where they were born. They have lived through a genocide on the news, Darfur, for example. They lived through SARS-2 and the world pausing and containing a pandemic. They lived through an apartheid that took the world nearly 2 decades to all decide, except the USA, to end it. But do I in some way feel this? Yes. I'm a bit younger than the white lefty boomer comment. I feel the same horror that we aren't just glimpsing a faraway genocide of people on World Vision commercials. This is a full-on, intentful, live-streamed in multiple languages genocide, while also live-streamed is the denial of what we are seeing with our own eyes. Very Orwell, and yes, that feels surreal. I'm going to acknowledge that. Also, I am someone who is sure this world would be unrecognizable in a really bad way by the time my kids were in their 20s to 30s. I have had more kids since then, but my late millennial and early Gen Z kids are that age. This is what I expected, except I thought this level of horror would have everyone recognizing that we were failing and banding together in revolution, or hiding and living outside society in rebellious, autonomous enclaves. I guess we need to fall apart further first. Liberalism knows that it takes pain to breed rebellion. Liberalism keeps you comfortable inside of horror so that you, like a lobster in a pot, will boil alive. Accelerationists aren't all the bad guys, actually. Many are just Dorothy begging to pull back the curtain. They are those asking, when is it too much? Only when they come for you? Fine, let me point them in your direction for once. And yes, some just want a weakened world so they can become the next overlords. People hate acceleration only when they are fine and comfortable while someone else vaporizes. I want to pull back the curtain. I don't want to suffer either, actually. But to do that, I need everyone to be realistic. What's actually different than the events I mentioned earlier? Environmental destruction isn't local, and we can't sustain the world we live in because we don't know how. So maybe we need to figure out what we can sustain. My ancestors saw the apocalypse of 2 whole continents by the same people whose descendants are bringing us steamrolling to a global apocalypse. Africa saw an apocalypse at the same time as the Americas. It's never actually stopped. It still feeds the same people today, and it's not the Africans. It's different to be indigenous to North America. We get spooned some of the comforts, but also the trickle of other forms of genocide. And the whole world forgets you exist and then tells you it's too late for your people. I think that's the same for other settler colonies. White people live here now, so it's deemed impossible to decolonize. Why? because white homes are sacred. Only white homes are sacred. Yes, I want to pull back the curtain because I did foresee this future. I just thought it would have been enough to spark change and revolution, not more neoliberalism. Vote out the badness bullshit. I thought the people and our understanding would be less brainless than Orwell suggested. But here we are, blind and accepting of the situations we are in. Even if this is tolerable, what are we doing for when it isn't? Gardens are awesome, but how will you defend it from the corporate government when things are no longer tolerable? How will you defend it from an army or a security force so that that food is yours? So I'm going to pull some cards for both this feeling of, I can't believe this is the world I live in, as well as pulling back the curtain. So we are using Songs of the Grandmother, Prairie Majestic, and the Rockstar Oracle. And we're going to do these face down so we don't know what we're getting till we get it. So it's a surprise for you. The Oracle cards will be for, well, we'll see how it goes. The goal of these readings is that feeling of, I can't believe this is the horror of the world that we live in. And also, it will be for, we will also read on what you need to help pull back that curtain and realize that protesting and who you're going to vote for next is not enough to save us. That's not going to do it. What will shake us out of our complacency? And what you do from there, I know that can be complicated, but I think the first part is like, what are we doing about this horror? Nothing? Okay, so Rockstar Oracle is going to get 3 cards from the Gay Marseille. We are putting all of this with Marseille today. And we will do 3 cards each. All right, and the Estrella Tarot is going to go with the Prairie Majestic. And the Marseille Prendre Vie is going to go with the Songs of the Grandmothers. All right. So these are your piles. Pile 1, 2, and 3. The Rockstar Oracle. Take your time. Patience. Some of you need to take your time to really fully digest. Perhaps those of you who are the thinkers, you need to really unpack this. If you push through without unpacking it, you might find yourself misaligned. You're not strong enough to pass through this all on your own without coming out of it misaligned. You will need some help with that. And part of where you need to pull back the veil is unpacking the judgments that make this horror okay, tolerable. What is it about this horror that makes you think this system that we have can keep going on? You know, what is it within yourself that makes it hard for you to see the environmental destruction going on, and in how that environmental destruction, the judgments you've been fed at home, how they impact your willingness to see the horror as something far away. Some of you are going to need to take your time to unpack that. And patience doesn't mean just sit still somewhere and wait. This is a very active card. These also have a lot of action going on within them. Death and judgment are active things that take action from others to occur. It means don't jump to your conclusions. Take your time to unpack them. And I think the 7 really is calling to not unpack it by yourself, because you will come out misaligned in doing so. Jump. Where am I ready to leap forward? All right. If you picked this pile, you're in a place where you're ready to leap forward. You're ready to jump. You have some pretty clear understandings, and you absolutely have the ability to be networking. If you chose this pile, it is time to jump into the networking aspect of this. And that's not just networking to bring together people who look like you, but networking to bring together people of multiple backgrounds, which might mean that you do this networking in search of another leader, that you are the inspiration, but maybe not the leader. But as the inspiration, your ability to network and bring the people together is there. And to think about the sword and what you can do to help cut away that curtain within your network. What is it that you can do? Perhaps you're able to train people in how to defend others, how to do counter surveillance, how to make sure that others aren't watching you, and to spread that. Various ways in which you can cut back the curtain and be a weapon. And for those of you who picked this pile, you are ready to jump. All right, for those who picked the songs of the grandmother, we have Grandmother Star, Magic, How to Cast a Spell, Dream, Believe, Imagine, Ask, Open the Pathways. All right, so for those of you who picked this pile, yes, magic is an aspect of that in 2 ways. Pulling back the curtain is a form of magic. It is disruptive to the magic of the propaganda that is putting out there. There are 2 pieces of this to be looking after as you alchemize a disruption. And that disruption is to unveil We have this veil here. So part of that is to unveil and believe others are going to see it. And for some of you, some of that work is definitely on a spiritual ground and in multiple ways. A fight against Islamophobia it is one of those spiritual grounds, right? A fight against the spiritual doctrines that tell certain groups of people God has given them other people's land. Always seems to be to those who originate from Europe. And part of that magic is disrupting their power. White people, rich white people, they have for centuries utilized magic on behalf of their dominance and control and destruction in this horror we live in. That's why we keep seeing, like, an attempt for theocracy to push its way in. Looking at the States right now, you can see that, and that is about spiritual power and control. And that is an aspect of what needs to be fought against on the magical realms, is that power and control of those people who believe in the spiritual beliefs that reinforce their dominance and right to destruction. And this is a magical disruption on multiple levels that needs to be brought about. And I think in terms of pulling back that veil, that, like, you know, for those of us who aren't Christian, we discount it very easily. But it relies on spiritual recital of mass groups. And I don't think those mass groups understand the power that they're enacting, but others do. And we should too. Like, when I do a curses check and when I break curses, one of the things I do is reinforce breaking the curses of my adopted family praying for me. Like, I see that as a spiritual battle that I need to be active in fighting, not just discounting. And so to look at this at a larger, grand scale. All right, folks, there you go.